remembering that if I'm talking, you're not.
Sorry.
Today we talk about multiplying and dividing. What happens when you multiply or divide by positive and negative numbers? So here's the deal. I'm just going to lay it out there for you. Multiplying and dividing is by far easier than adding and subtracting. Because you just have, there are just three cases when you multiply and divide integers. Case number one, well actually, there's just two cases. Either they both have the same sign, either both of your integers have the same sign. Let's say you've got positive 6, and for anytime you see parentheses next to each other, that's going to mean that it's multiplication. They either both have the same sign, or they both have the same sign means either they're both positive or they're both negative. Okay. When they both have the same sign, it's really simple, because if they both have the same sign, if I said both the same sign, it will always be a positive answer. In other words, positive 6 times positive 2 gives you a positive 12. And negative 6 times negative 2 also gives you a positive 12. If they have the same sign, whether they're both positive or they're both negative, you will get a positive answer. Okay? And the other case is if they have different signs. If it's a negative 6 times a positive 2, or a positive 6 times a negative 2, in either case, your answer will be negative. In both of these cases, my answer is a negative 12. In both cases, my answer is a negative 12. And the beauty of this is, the first, like step 1/2, is you just multiply like normal. In other words, 6 times 2, you're always going to get 12s in all these, because I'm always multiplying 6 times 2, so that doesn't change. It's just whether it's positive or negative. And the same thing is true for division. It's all the same. Some examples. Negative 18 divided by 6. We don't put positive signs usually because we just assume they're positive if there's no sign above it. But it would be, okay, they both have opposite signs, so my answer is going to be a negative 3. 18 divided by 6 is 3. If they both were negative, negative 18 divided by a negative 6 would be both the same sign, you get a positive answer. Both opposite signs, you get a negative answer. Both the same, positive, opposite, negative. Now, there are going to be times, here's going to be a little helpful hint for you. Let's say I have a negative 1 times a negative 2 times a negative 3 times a negative 4. Okay? Negative 1 times a negative 2 times a negative 3 times a negative 4. You can, ladies and gentlemen, feel free, if this works for you, just do it problem by problem and see what your answer will get. For example, if I take a negative 1 times a negative 2, Sam, negative 1 times negative 2 is a?
Positive 2.
Positive 2, he says with authority. It is positive 2 because there's two negatives. They're both the same sign. But now when I multiply a positive 2 times a negative 3, Lexi, that would give me a?
Negative.
Right. Opposite signs would give me a negative 6. But now, I just did that. Now I multiply my negative 6 times a negative 4. My answer will be, David?
24.
Right. Positive 24. Because two negatives now give me a positive. So there is a rule of thumb, ladies and gentlemen. A rule of thumb. How many negatives did I have when I started multiplying? 4. Okay? And what did my answer end up being, positive or negative? Positive. And that's kind of the rule of thumb. An even number of negatives gives you a positive answer. If you have an even number of negatives, you get a positive answer. But if you have an odd number of negatives, you will get a negative answer. And we'll explore that in just a second here. So a -5 times a -2 times a -1. Right off the bat, if I were doing this problem, I'd go, oh, I'm multiplying 3 negatives together, so my answer is going to be negative. An odd number of negatives will give me a negative answer, and then I can just multiply the numbers. 5 times 2 times 1 is 10. Negative 10. Okay? And obviously, we have to throw some of this in here. What would -2 to the third power be? Now think about what that means. You have 3 -2's times themselves. -2 times -2 times -2. How many negatives is that?
3.
Which means my answer is going to be negative or positive?
Negative.
Negative. 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. My answer is going to be a -8. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. -3 to the second power is going to give me a -3 times a -3. You get a positive 9. And again, you don't have to put the positive down there. As a matter of fact, I'd very much appreciate it if you did not put the positive down there. All right. Same thing is true if you have something a little more complicated. What if I have a -3xy times a -4xy? First thing, decide if it's going to be negative or positive. How many negatives are there? So my answer is going to be positive. 3 times 4 is x times x is x squared, and y times y is y squared. Again, you don't need to put the positive there, but it is. Or how about this one? We could actually do this. The book. Here's one right out of the book. 6x squared y over -2 x y z. Now, doesn't that look fun and exciting?
No.
Yes.
I'm going to do it with you if you want. Don't worry, I'll get it back. Oops. Drop rope. I can't do it. Oh, maybe I can. Okay, first things first. If you are attacking said problem there, Grayson Tusaki, is my answer going to be negative or positive?
Positive.
Why?
Because, never mind, negative.
Why?
There's a +6 and a -2.
Right. One negative, that's an odd number. If one's negative, one's positive, the whole answer is negative. And then what's going to happen here? 2 goes into 6, what?
3 times.
3 times. I have 1 x on bottom and 2 x's on top, so what's going to happen? One of the x's will cross off with one of the 2 x's on top, so you're still left with an x. This y will cross off with this y, so there's no y there. And then you have a z that doesn't cross off with anything on the bottom. Now understand this, ladies and gents. It does not matter where you put this negative sign. Okay? You can either put the negative, this is the same thing as this, sorry, is the same thing as this. All three of those are the same. As long as there's one negative, it doesn't matter if you put it with the bottom number, you put it with the top number, or you put it out front of the fraction, it all means the same exact thing. It gets a little confusing and a little choppy there, but that is it. Now, are you ready for what's really going to floor you?
Yes.
And I tell you, take a deep breath, look up here. Super deep breath. Okay. Where I see most people, Sam, go wrong on negatives and positive is with the distributive property. Okay, let me do, let's say I have 2 times 3x, 2 times 3x minus 4. If I do that out as in the distributive property, what's it going to give me? Well, 2 times 3x is 6x. And 2 times negative 4 is, or minus 4 is a
8.
minus 8. If it's subtracting or it's a negative, it doesn't matter. Now, ladies and gentlemen, watch what happens if I do this. What if there's a negative 2 out front of 3x minus 4? Now, please understand, negative signs and subtraction signs in the real world are the same exact thing. Never ask me if that's a negative or a subtraction sign, because it's the same thing. In the end, it boils down to being exactly the same. Without going into a long 20-minute explanation why that would be, it just is. Okay, so if I am simplifying this, okay, you always take the sign that's in front of the number. This is really a negative 2. So when I do this, it now becomes a negative 2 times 3x, which is, one of them's negative, so my whole thing is negative. I get negative 6x. And then I take a negative 2 times a negative 4. And again, don't tell me that that's a subtraction sign. I will tell you it's the same thing. A negative 2 times a negative 4 gives me a positive 8. 2 negatives give me a positive. Okay? So it's the exact same as this. It's just exactly the opposite. Here I didn't have a negative, so this was a positive 6x. Now it's a negative 6x. Here I didn't have a negative. And that is that sort of thing there. Everybody seems to be excited about that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let me give you another one. How about you try this?
Yes.
What would a negative 5 times, in parentheses, negative 3x plus 6 be? Tell me what you get if you were to use the distributive property there. Negative 5 times, in parentheses, negative 3x plus 6. Mandy, I can tell you are chomping at the bit to give your answer there. And remember, you have to look at this as all being one piece. So you end up with, Maddie?
15x plus 150.
All right, plus a negative. What happens when you have two opposite signs? And again, don't tell me that that's a plus sign. It's the same as being a positive sign. Pluses and positives are the same as just like negatives and minuses are the same. So if I have a negative and a positive, it becomes a right. So this should have been minus 30.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Technically, what you said was right, but we would never in math do it because it's way too confusing to say a 15x plus a negative 30. We just don't do that. These two things, a negative with a positive, just becomes a minus or a negative. Either way, it's the same exact thing. So you're right on the money there. Another one, how about 6 times negative 2x minus 5. What would I get if I used the distributive property there? Jax, you with me? Should be writing that down there. Here it is. What would I get if I took a 6 times a negative 2x times a negative 5? Did I really put Lexi and Maddie together? That doesn't seem like something I would do. Jake, I think you're supposed to be between those gals. What's that? Have they done that before?
I don't know.
You put people together like that.
I don't know, I'll go look at my sheet, but I'm pretty sure that didn't happen. Just one of them things that seems awkwardly coincidental that it always happens. I will look when I get back here. Alright, so what did we get here? Lexi Himes, when you did the distributive property there, you got
Negative 12x.
-12x minus 30. Same thing. That is correct. One negative, negative, one negative. Are we kind of on the same proverbial page? Let's do one more. How about, oh, here's a good one. How about this one? Negative 2x times x. Oh wait, sorry, negative 2x times, oh, I'm sorry. Negative 2x times 2x minus 5. Give me an answer for such a thing here. Negative 2x times 2x minus 5. Zoe, what'd you come up with on that?
I'm not done.
What? Ella Bronlin.
Negative 4x squared plus, or positive 10.
Yeah, plus and positive is the same thing, except you missed something. Okay, I agree. These two times that, one negative makes the whole thing negative, negative 4x squared. And then a negative 2x times a negative 5 is plus. 2 times 5 is 10, but you still have that x there. So this would be the thing. Don't forget, you have to put all the pieces of the puzzle together there. Questions, concerns, problems there? All right. Here's what I need for you to do. You're going to grab your Chromebooks and you're going to go. There's going to be a practice there. But before you do that, I want you to put your name on that piece of note paper you just have taken there, and I'd like to take a look at your notes. Have your names on those. Have your names on those, and then I will. Then when you take out your Chromebook, and then when you do that, your assignment will be lesson 36 odds. Lesson 36 odds.
Really? Yeah. Have you seen my notes?
And again, you have to get problem number 1 right. You go on to number 2, and you must get all of those right before you move on to.
What save your life later?
It'll be green on top if you get it right. positive, don't put positive signs, what's the target, that kind of time. Positive, just put the numbers, and then there's a negative sign. And if you do them all right, then you can proceed. I'm fixing number 6 was wrong.
Oh, good.
In case those of you were wondering,
Yeah.
I'm sure you were. Believe it or not, electric company, they sometimes will charge you a half a cent, half a penny. That's how you can show that.